Hello guys.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Standard question.
The adrenaline is pumping right now. So let's do this. Hello, my name is Mateusz and I'm the community manager for Ansho Studios, and today with me is Łukasz Hacura, also known as Hacura-san. We have to have dad jokes because this is who I am. Today we will play Twisted and Perverted, another route. You have already seen the IGN video with Magdalena Cielecka, and she had one take. We will do something different. It will be raw and cut, so be aware that this is pre-alpha footage. I think this is the same build which Magda was playing.
It's the exactly same build.
It's the same build, yeah. You will see something, hopefully, which Magda didn't show you. So I think it's time to start. I have missed one important information because Łukasz is Gamedec's executive producer, so he knows everything about this game.
Or at least I hope I do, because every day there's something new in the build. So we're actually playing a build that's a month old. So I needed to refamiliarize myself with the game. Hope I won't go in any route that's not supported in that build, but we'll see.
Two questions. First of all, for the people who don't know what Gamedec is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Gamedec is an what we call an adaptive isometric cyberpunk RPG. The adaptive part is a smart way of saying that choices have real consequences in our game, which is saying that we try to take it on a little bit more pen and paper route. The illusion of freedom is as big as we can get it, basically, in Gamedec. We're highly inspired by pen and paper RPGs here. Most of the design team are pen and paper RPG fans, and the isometric route brings a lot of nostalgia from that time. That was the time that we could play for the first time. We thought what we were playing pen and paper RPGs just on a computer. So Gamedec is a game about a game detective, which is not a pun on the title. It's based on a book IP by Marcin Przybyłek. It's a game about a detective that enters various virtual worlds, video games basically, and is specializing as a gamer and as a detective. He's specialized to solving case in there, because in this world, in this cyberpunk future, sometimes utopia, sometimes dystopia, that's a real profession. The people live in those video games, people work in those video games. The real and the virtual world have become mixed up. So we're a Gamedec, and we're gonna play a particular game called Twisted and Perverted, which is also based on a story from the first volume of Marcin's book. It's a game basically about last murders. So it's four people who get off on last murders. So it's a bit edgy, but you'll see it when you see it. It's
okay for streaming, yeah. People like edgy content.
It's safe for streaming. Okay, so let me change it to yes. Yeah. And we're live. Okay, so to give you a bit of a context, right now, right here, I was asked to come in on a case to High City, to a guy named Haggis. I was just brought up here, so we're in the middle of things. I was just brought up here by his entourage, and I'm coming into an office wondering, okay, what's this case about? So what he's saying, basically, he's a rich dude in a very rich-looking apartment in the High City, so in a rich part of the Gamedec-verse, of the Warsaw City. And he says that his son has been stuck in a video game for 4 days, so it's very COVID relevant right now, that case. So he has been stuck in a video game for 4 days and he cannot log out. Now in Gamedec, I'm going to show you this in a second. In Gamedec world, to enter a video game, you put on a special suit and you enter a special chairs called couches here that you can see there. There's Fredo, the son of Mr. Haggis. And you take a special pill that makes you that slows down your bodily functions, makes it okay for extended periods of playing. But 4 days is really a lot. So what happened is he was there with a friend inside a video game. We don't know which one. I mean, we kind of spoiled it in the beginning, which one, but we don't know which one. He was there with Timmy, his friend. So what I can do here is obviously I could log into a video game, but I don't know which one. So right now I don't have any particular option here. I could learn more from Haggis. I could check the body of Fredo, and all of that would take some time, and also it's actually not in this build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to interrogate Timmy. He's the friend that was able to get out. And here you see that you have a standard dialogue mechanics known from isometric RPGs, apart from that interrogation bar here, which basically shows us the attitude of Timmy towards us, if he's going to open up or shut down. So this is what we call the interrogation mechanic in our game. So we see Timmy, and we are going to try to interrogate him, and he asks us if we are going to do it. So the important part you need to know about Gamedec is that your choices have consequences that are, well, you can load the game, but basically you could easily shut yourself off from different branches of narrative depending on your decisions. So you should gather information and choose wisely what you're going to do. In here you can see our beautiful non-implemented codex, which is the work in progress. Sorry, what is the sum of the knowledge that we currently have. And normally you would see there you would have a little node called Timmy, and when you click on him, depending on what you did before in previous cases or on the beginning of this case, you would have more information, more background info, and you would know that Timmy doesn't like to be challenged directly in terms of questions that are about him. For example, if we would ignore his question about if we're going to interrogate him, or we're going to confirm actually that we're going to interrogate him, then his attitude towards us would drop. If we just going to say that, hey, no, this, I'm not a policeman, I'm just here to help out, then his attitude towards us will grow. So that's a thing that I would know if I would gather my information before in the codex. If I didn't, it's just shoot and miss. Okay, so the code is actually there. There's just not the UI implementation.
You have to be fast to read.
Yeah, but what I did, I unlocked an information and a deduction system, which I'm going to go to in a second and explain what's that all about. But yeah, so we're asking him about what happened. We can ask him about himself. We can ask him about the game he's claiming that they entered. He's claiming he entered Paradise Beach. Now, Paradise Beach is a dating virtual world. So a couple of 16-year-old kids inside a dating sim, that's a bit odd. We can ask him about it, or we can ask him about Fredo. So we can ask him if there are any threats, standard detective stuff. We told him that we're not going to interrogate him, but this is exactly what we're doing right now. When we ask him about his father, he opens up a little bit. So we're not asking questions about Timmy. That would actually shut him down, and didn't want to talk to us. But yeah, so we can ask also about Paradise Beach. and make sure if he actually went there. So there's a lot of options here that you could actually try to go through. It'll take a good couple of minutes. So I'm just gonna go to and ask him a questions where they did split up. And he says, we're in a place where there's a lot of sand. Probably because it's in the name of the game, Paradise Beach. So we try to bluff him into saying that probably near the spaceport, right? There's no spaceport in Paradise Beach. So yeah, we got
busted.
Yeah, we got the unlocked information in the deduction saying that Timmy knows nothing about Paradise Beach. So we asked him the last questions about Fredo, and because we were asking questions about Fredo, not about Timmy, he opened up and he confessed that actually they went into Twisted and Perverted.
And they shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game only for adults. Everybody consents to everything inside there, but it is about killing people while doing some nasty stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna show now my deduction tab, because if you go here, and now I would like to enter Twisted and Perverted to help Timmy, I have an option here that says that this option is available only from deduction. So when I click it, I get my deduction tab, and the deduction tab is the core deducing mechanic of Gamedec. That's something that we're really happy with, because most detective games, what they do is you need to gather all your information, and if you gather all your information, the correct answer is presented to you. Maybe you need to finish some minigame, or maybe you can actually fail, but then you get immediate feedback from the game that, hey, this is not actually what happened, and you're like scored. So in Gamedec, there are information on the left, and depending on the amount of information you have, information is on your right unlock, and you can choose any of those, and the game just rolls with it. So if I would have more information suggesting that he actually went into Paradise Beach, then clicking clicking that would make me actually go to the Paradise Beach, where I probably would deduce that they weren't there, but there is that pathway in the game. So I'm gonna choose Twisted and Perverted. I'm gonna unlock that option deduction, and then in the actual dialogue, now I can use it, because it means that this is what the player believes. This is what my avatar, this is what my game deck believes is true, and now I can use it. And we're entering Twisted and Perverted.
We have the first question, and it's your favorite.
Yeah?
You already know what I'm going to ask.
Okay.
Did Disco Elysium have an influence on your work so far?
Yeah, that's a tough one, mainly because Disco Elysium is awesome. So yeah, Disco Elysium had a big impact on us when it launched, basically. Because we knew about its existence, we knew that it's similar to us, but we started working on our game 4 years ago. For a year and a half, it wasn't even an isometric RPG. We actually been in contact with some. I don't know if I can tell this, actually. I hope they don't kill us, but we actually had access to friends and family beta before the launch. So we would say it wasn't an influence, but it's more of a positive influence, like, yes, non-combat isometric RPGs have the right to exist. Because we were doubting that, and a lot of publishers we talked to also were doubting that. Well, after Disco Elysium, nobody's doubting the idea. They
just confirmed what we was hoping for. Yeah.
Exactly, and those guys are awesome, but we're aiming at a bit of a different. Their game is very, I would say, avant-garde. I don't know if it's that even a correct word. We're more pulp in terms of, cyberpunk. We're like this Netflix TV show about, like, let's say Altered Carbon is a good reference for us in terms of this is what we aim for emotions and feelings and
the
aesthetics.
structure and social.
Yeah, exactly. So So it's and Disco Elysium is about class struggle, etc. But yeah, let's get back to the stream. So this guy is Kenzo. He's like our sidekick, yeah, kind of a partner. But for the purpose of the stream, we're gonna go solo. He's a part of a bigger scenario because obviously we're showcasing a single case here. But the game has its main story arc. Think of it as a TV series that every episode is its own story, but also progresses a little bit. I wasn't supposed to go here, but I can. So yeah, we're not gonna show this area, but I'm just gonna show you. Oh, the team's gonna be so mad that I can do anything. So I'm just gonna show you the size of our typical location. Oh, like father, like son. This is actually the name of the case. The name of the case is not Twisted and Perverted. I don't know if it's a debug name or our name, but the name of the case is like father, like son. So this is the size of let's say a scene. There are a couple of things going on here. And I can interact with those characters. Oh, there were car passing by, etc. But yeah, we're gonna go also down the alley. So the similar way that we did previously, we're just going to handle it differently.
Before you click on Umbra, there's a question about codecs, because we don't have it in this demo, but it is shown in the Kickstarter video.
Yeah, I mean, in the Kickstarter video, it's because it's still work in progress. It's a concept of it is shown. Yeah, you can watch it on the Kickstarter video. We hope to have it soon inside the game, actually, UI-wise. But it is a tree-based. It's a tree-based information system, basically. That every character, every important place, etc., is a node with information associated to it. Okay, I'm gonna chat up Umbra. So Umbra is actually a recurring character in our game. We can meet her also in other places. But okay, she's playing Twisted and Perverted right now, but I'm not here for the last murdering, right? I'm here to find what happened to Fredo. So I'm asking her about Fredo, and she says that she actually has seen two weirdly out of place teenagers walking around in very expensive skins. She's asking if we want to, what's our beef with him? Do we want to kill him and rally him or something? So I'm going to tell the truth, say that I'm a game deck on an investigation, that the kid is in danger. And she's proposing us that she knows something, but we need to come to an alley with her. Now, that might sound strange in the real world, but in a game about last murders, this actually, like, it's pretty straightforward that she wants to play, right? And at the end of the day, she wants to kill us. But she says she knows something. So we can either refuse or we can go with her, which would probably end in some kind of violence, but maybe not before we figure out where Fredo is. So there's a dialogue with her that is actually shown on Magda's video, the IGN one. And we can chat her up. There's the same investigation or persuasion mechanic that we saw with Timmy. So sorry all, I'm just gonna kill her. Sorry, I mean, we said that we said that we're gonna go a different route, so I just killed her. But this is one branch that you can explore, chatting her up, I killed her mostly because there is no scenario in the dialogue when she won't attack me either way. So I just, in this particular build, not in the final game.
There's a question about languages.
Yeah?
What languages will be available?
Well, Kickstarter page puts it quite bluntly right now because we hit our stretch goal with Spanish and French, and we wanted our game basically to be in English, Polish, because we're from Poland, Russia, because you can't have isometric RPG without Russian. There's a big RPG fan base there. Chinese, because they're enormous market. I mentioned already Spanish and French, right? Did German. I miss anything? German, sorry. Yes, Germany, the That's one of the biggest European markets also, and hardcore RPG fans, Gothic fans, and etc. So yeah, those are the languages. So okay, getting back to the game, I can try to exit this alley, but we do have elements like this that force us to think on our feet and think of something else. So we cannot exit here. It is a video game, so if I would found out Ken is putting an extra programs into our deck to help us maybe find an admin tool or something like that inside, because I cannot just log out without a good access point. But I could kill myself if I would find something sharp here that would force me to respawn somewhere else. There is a bin here. I'm not gonna do it, don't worry. I just want to show. I'm not gonna do it because people said that I shouldn't, so I won't. But we can search a trash bin, and actually searching a trash bin is not a valid strategy usually in Gamedec, because you can get trolled by the writers. Basically, why are you searching trash bins? But in here we could find a mine that somebody apparently disarmed and threw into trash. We could detonate that mine and kill ourselves, but I'm not going to do that. Also, what I am going to do is there's an interaction here with that graffiti, and there's a mention here that there are admin panels inside the game that are used to shape the game itself. Something similar to, let's say, making a video game in Unreal Engine inside a VR headset. That's actually a thing. So I uncovered that behind that graffiti there was a control panel that I can interact with, and there is an admin tool here that is actually logged on, which is quite fortunate, because without any password, etc., I could try to figure out what's going on here. So this dialogue here informs me that I'm already being like tracked, that there is some kind of intrusion. So I don't have a lot of time here. If I click on too much options, I'm going to be auto-logged out. I'm going to click the admin tool. Here the glitch appeared, which I don't know what is right now, but the dialog says that there's quite a bit of glitches here, and that there is still somebody logged in. So I will try to observe who that might be, and that actually showed me a person that is like locked out in the system, kind of like a ghost in the machine.
So he was watching when you were killing Umbra.
Well,
it's twisted and perverted, yeah.
I don't know, because he seems to be in a kind of a loop. When you see here, he's just going around and he's blocked in a way. So I don't have the coder. I can't free the admin. Okay, yeah, because you have a important feature in the game. You have a character progression. I'm going to click it here. That's our character progression screen. And depending on the choices you make, so for example, if you're more tech savvy, or well, you like more technical options, or you use more chatting app options, on whatever you do, we're like giving you experience in that field. And if you have enough experience points in a particular field, we allow you to unlock a particular aspect, which then in turn can give you a profession, which is like a higher level thing that you can do, and that unlocks different things. So if I, for example, had a coder, I could have those options unlocked, but I don't. I'm going to exit this panel. So I see this admin. He's working here in some way, clicked in some kind of trapped in here. And when I touch that glitch, so an error inside a video game, and when I examine it, there are something preventing me from touching that glitch, and there are glitches around me. So if you look at this, there are a lot of glitches here. And normally I wouldn't know what this is about, but you see he's approaching certain ones, because if I click on it's a kind of a mini game. If I click here, this wasn't part of the link. That's the message here. So if I go here where the admin went, I'm going to retrace his steps. Okay, that's the first one to go. Second one, let's see where he goes next. Here, click. Yay, and that actually freed him. Talk to me, yeah. So, what a nightmare, over 20 hours stuck inside. So yeah, the admin was actually stuck inside the game.
We have to say that it's very dangerous to stay in the game for a long time.
Yeah, that's why we need to save Fredo, because our bodies are not, even with the game pill, with the pill that slows down the metabolism, it's a big strain on the system. So he's super tired. So he's saying to me that he's a tired genie. So, I mean, it's a joke about the fact that he's a tired genie. And so let's say he has 2 wishes that we can grant him. So I want to know where Fredo is, for example, if he could check logs or something like that. And he showed me this. What happened? Why did he show me that? Did I just enter something that I shouldn't? Damn it.
How many hours do you have in this particular case?
How many avenues or how many hours of gameplay?
Played. No, you. This particular case.
Not that much, couple of hours. I mean, this whole case is designed to be like an hour and a half long. So I played it a couple times, but yeah, it's still in development. There are a lot of different avenues here. So actually what I wanted to do is I wanted to learn the location, and I was hoping, because this is the same thing that Umbra gave me, that he would say that he's in the theater. So we have our first big screw up of the stream. Yay! And I don't even have a shoe mechanic to throw or anything like that. So yeah, because that pathway, I know it's not implemented here.
People want to know if you can walk in this game, because you're always running.
Yeah.
So can you control the pace?
Yep. Here, I did it on a wheel up and wheel down. But I'm running because I'm in a hurry to save Fredo. But yeah, you can change that, and actually it's used in a mechanic that we're going to show on this stream, hopefully, if I get into the theater, because this pathway is not implemented in the game. So I'm sorry, everybody, I need to break the rules a bit, because in order to get into the theater, here, I can get there if I had the coder and I could just hack it. So I'm gonna cheat, sorry. I played it 3 times today and I got the theater information. Shouldn't killed Umbra. So I'm gonna take the
technician.
Yeah. Okay, that would probably allow me to get the coder. Yep. So I get the profession.
I have a question.
Sure.
How many branches of this quest will be close behind the aspects and professions you pick at the start? So how many branches of this quest, of this case, can be closed because you don't have a particular profession or an aspect?
That's a good question, because we don't, it's kind of a rule of thumb, but let's say that if you have, for example, if you would have 7 avenues, 7 ways to finish a quest, right? You would probably have at least one that requires absolutely nothing. You can be the worst detective in the world, not get any other informations, have no aspects, no additional professions, etc. And you should be able, maybe you won't get the big picture, maybe it won't be the most satisfying one. We actually do have a pathway that we call actually the dumbest detective in the world. it's not going to be called there in the game. But so, for example, you can have a deduction that maybe not the dumbest, maybe the laziest even, maybe it's a better world. So, for example, you can choose to you could choose, I don't know if it's in the current build, but you could choose, for example, just to hard unplug Fredo. Yeah, it's like, yeah, he's fine. He's faking it.
And the brain.
Yeah, and possible brain damage. It's not Matrix. It's not like you die instantly, but there is a possibility of brain damage. So you could have that option and you solve the case in like
there's a question,
2 minutes.
Can we do immoral things? So yeah, you can unplug someone's brain without hesitating,
Yeah, you can. I mean,
case solved, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. That's the case solved, and that actually progresses the meta scenario. So yeah, I cheated. But to finish off the question, so you have let's say the one that is always open, and a couple of ones are based on either information, so not aspects specifically, but how much do you actually explore the world, talk to the characters, get it. So let's say out of those 7, I don't know, 2, 3, something like that. It's not like you shouldn't feel like I'm missing out because of it. You should feel like, hey, it's cool, I have this avenue because I have this profession or because I got this information, right? That's the idea. We'll see if the player's gonna see it the same way. So let's assume that I didn't screw up at first. And let's assume that I learned that Fredo is in the theater, and I actually entered the theater. So I entered the theater, and behold, that's an odd image. So that image actually, so imagine really high quality sound design that will be in there, and this kid is crying and muttering something like, "Let me out." So that was the image that we had for this case long time ago, like long before any alpha builds, etc. So that's the essence of for me of this dark, gritty cyberpunk theme. It's like a kid murdering a person on a bed, but in a broken loop. He can't get out, and he's crying for help to just let me out, etc. He's exhausted. He's been doing that for couple of days probably.
He doesn't want to do this.
He doesn't want to do, he wants to just log out and go back to his mommy probably. And there's this strange person that says, well, hello and behold to my weird ass game. So we're gonna try to find out who's this guy Jester and what's his deal. So what he says right now is that he removed the skin from Fredo. So Fredo is not masked. You can see that this is the person that is Haggis' son. Haggis is a powerful person in the high city. He's recorded right now, and he's doing basically an illegal thing because he's playing as a minor. He's playing a game for adults only, and he's gonna send it out to live if Fredo, the father, won't cease to the demands of Jester. So we calmly try to come up with what does the Jester want. And Jester is in here quite ominous. He says that he's just wants everything. I mean, not money, but for Haggis to do anything that Jester asks. And we don't know the motives behind it yet. So let's say moral-wise, about the moral choices, we would stick to our client still, right? There's a guy, he wants a ransom. Okay, let's solve this. So what if I refuse? He says that, well, you don't have actually a choice because well, I hold all the cards. He cannot log out without probably hurting himself. So we can agree and log out, and actually that would be a valid option, not the stupidest detective in the world. That's actually a valid option. Coming back and saying, okay, Mr. Haggis, there's a guy there. He has all the cards. He's going to release this footage. If you're not going to cease into his demands, then Haggis probably would either ask us to help out or simply maybe agree. Maybe we would need to persuade him. So there would be a whole branch about this. But we're going on a branch that we are trying to solve it on our own. So And what he does, he says that he's in a full control here. He did few modifications to the game, and he teleported us out of the theater. So, okay, not yet. Okay, so I'm going back into the theater, and let's say that I'm going here, and I'm trying to ask somebody here about anything, and he's talking to me about Joffrey. I don't know who Joffrey is. And Joffrey? And the person is starting to basically mumble something about nonsense, corporations, etc. And I have no idea what he's talking about. Actually, I'm spoiling it a bit because normally the player, while he would play, he would try to make a sense of it. And for the first time, maybe he would even think that this is a normal dialogue. I'm going to say nothing. And this person is continuously talking to me. I'm going to observe that person. The person keeps talking, keeps saying things that I don't understand what are about. And what happens is I'm logged out again, out from the theater. So I enter in again, and I'm not clicking, but the game went here. And
so you have lost your control.
Yeah, and there's the exactly same dialogue, but I can choose different things. Haven't we talked before, for example? But what my character is actually saying is the same option I choose before. So actually, first time I played it, I didn't get that until the second time. But yeah, are we inside a loop? So the jester is playing with us. We're inside some kind of a loop, and
it's like the Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it's a Groundhog Day, but just with a point and click dialogue. So pretty terrible. And Jester is asking us, are we ready to exercise his power? This is my domain. Are we ready to season? And we're still, there's a big no-no still. And we're back.
I have to say that if you have any questions, and we don't have much time now to answer them, we will talk about them later. We have a great list of questions. Yeah. So
okay.
You have to be there for like 5 hours.
I have all night scheduled, no problem.
I have a wife and a kid.
Yeah, they should be sleeping right now. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out if I'm part of some kind of a simulation. Are those real people? And the branch here takes me, can I use still my eyes? Because in Gamedec there are programs, because think of it like as a game deck, you're not necessarily maybe always a hacker or a programmer, but you are tech savvy and you have like a set of software that you can use. And some of those software devices can be activated only by your eyes. So I'm trying to check if I do have my eye controllers, and yes, I do. So I run a program called Guardian Angel from my software deck, which basically alleviates me from my, oh, Ken is calling me. That's our, might say, intercom kind of a thing. And he's asking us that he's trying to figure out also how to get us up, get us out of the theater. So we mentioned the loop. He mentions, and we have a deduction here, that that's not part of a normal programming of a Twisted and Perverted game. So we're like above, like out of our body, above all that here. We could check on the on Fredo, could check on the woman, but we're gonna look around and figure out what's going on here. So let's check what I'm actually, whenever I don't know what I'm doing, I should be looking at my deduction tab. So here I have 3 questions posed by the game. What's the loop? What's within the loop? And who are the people that are in the loop? So for example, I gathered two informations that there should not be normally any loops in Twisted and Perverted, and that Jester mentioned that he put in few modifications in here, which gets us absolutely nowhere yet. So we need to gather more information. So there are a couple of things that we can interact here with, like for example this chair that is kept being knocked down and put right back up. There's a cat, which is obviously a cat in a deja vu, is a homage to Matrix.
Yeah.
I really hope so, that it is. Or it's just really cheesy, but I hope it's a homage to Matrix. So there's a cat. There are persons here that do actually still, that we think that they're conscious. So let's see. We had one more information that people are conscious, that consciousness is preserved. So we have a option that we can say that it's a cheat or it's an exploit, which the biggest difference is that cheat is something that is built in to the game, usually by the authors, right? And exploits is something that shouldn't have happened, but somebody took advantage of some kind of errors in the code and put in their own modifications. So I will go with that because it's probably Jester. So that's my first thing. So I have one information out of many on how to actually break the loop. And exploit is just one information. So my only outcome, dumbest detective in the world, is I can't break the loop. I need to go with tails behind my leg and go back to Haggis and say just give him whatever he wants because I cannot do this. Or I could continue with my deduction, and I could say that the whole what is in the loop. So I will say the whole theater because persons, the cats, not only the bed scene, and who are the people in the theater because of the consciousness. We say that they're real people. And now we have a bit more information. We have a bit more options. And about the moral and moral choices, here you have a perfect example. Those options are actually here kind of a debug-wise because we didn't retain enough, we didn't gather enough information for all of them to be unlocked. But for the purpose of the demo, we have more of them just to showcase our options. So as I said, dumbest detective in the world, we could just try to break the loop by overloading the woman, probably killing her or doing her serious harm. Yeah, maybe she would just log out, but that's a big if. We could do it for Fredo. So depending on what we're gonna get, if we would, for example, a quick route, if we wouldn't have that option, which I'm going to talk about in a second, we could go for a quick loot. Let's just try, maybe woman dies or whatever, we're here for Fredo, right? So we could choose that one. But because we analyze all the cats and all the chairs, etc., we have those, let's try to overload the loop by duplicating elements. Now I need to be careful here. Okay, duplicating the elements. So that would probably unlock an option of, creating an extra cat, creating extra chairs, and I create enough of those. Yeah, the game should crash.
But not enough around memory.
Yeah, let's say. So the game has crashed, and or the modification, the overlay, the loop that that Jester did crashed. So now we can free Fredo, and we can get out of here. Now the purpose of this is just to show how freaking smart of an arch enemy, dragging this down, is Jester. Because once I exit, obviously, he is still here and he's still in control. So I broke the loop, but he still manages the theater pretty well. So Kenzo mentioned a plan that he was brewing. So whatever he's planning, we're saying, okay, that's the moment. And that was his plan, apparently.
A random car appears, and it's super effective.
So Jester logs out, and again, we're taking Fredo, we're asking if he's okay, etc., and we're trying to take him out of the theater.
The first time I saw the car in the theater smashing the Jester, I was so thrilled.
Yeah,
it's funny, it's gruesome, it's very twisted and
well,
perverted.
you didn't expect that, right? When he was saying that he was going to help you.
Nobody expects the car in a theater.
So I'm trying to exit the theater, and this is footage of gameplay that we have not shown before. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is something exclusive for the stream. Yeah.
This is something that we call the roofs. We did have a glimpse of it on trailers, but we never showed the actual gameplay. So Jester says, okay, last chance. This is it. You need to log out, and you need to cease to my demands. Because what I did here is I took Fredo and I connected your every death in Twisted and Perverted into basically hurting him. So if we die in Twisted and Perverted, Fredo's brain is getting fried, right? And this is his, might say, health bar. And he took Fredo somewhere here. And what we have here is a quite, you might say, classic isometric stealther bit. So anytime, I can maybe even show it once, but I'm afraid that I'm gonna kill Fredo. But let's show it once. So yeah, so every time somebody notices me, I am getting killed. And every time Jester gives me an option that, hey, Fredo is dying. Do you really want to fight with me? Just give up. So we can say no way, screw this, just for the sake of principles.
He has a lot of his brain left, so yeah.
Yeah, let's see. So there are mines here, and as I promised, to pass a mine undetected, you need to actually slow down, so you cannot run. If I would run here, I would die, which poses a problem, obviously, because I want to run away from the guards, run away from their field of view, right? Yep. Is she coming back? No.
That was a close one.
Yeah. So there's a mine here. I'm gonna go past that mine. I'm gonna go up here. Down here. Past that mine. And I think that that's so super. I like died. Well, I like died 7 times the first. He was trying to burn me with a flamethrower, but I did it on the first try. Awesome. So you made it, and that is actually the end of that particular branch. In the final game, you're gonna have a fan favorite escort mission of getting him back through that stealth game without hurting him, but we didn't get there yet. So yeah, I don't know why I can't talk to Frodo, but to Haggis, but he's supposed to be super happy that I did it. And that's
the end of the case.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, there is a follow-up about what he actually wanted, because there were options inside the full case. There would be, for example, choices like, did we destroy the footage? Did we get the footage in the first place? Did we share the footage with Haggis? Or maybe we think that, because what Jester is really about, spoiler alert, is it's all in the title, like father, like son. Haggis is a sick person. Haggis is a sick person. And he did a lot of bad things that we will learn about in the full case. And basically he wants revenge on Haggis, and nothing will stop him. So he doesn't think that it's super immoral to torture his son. We might think that also, or we might think otherwise, or maybe we'll save the son, but we'll bring down the father, etc. Right? Or we could just take the money and erase the footages. So those are the outcomes that you can have of that particular case.
You are the sum of your choices.
Yeah, that's the idea. Okay, so what's the
3?
No, 4, I think.
I think 3 or 2. Let's do 2. Let's do 2. And you have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 2.
Okay. Sorry, it's my first live stream, and I'm learning the controls. Okay. So now maybe when we can do the Q&As.
We can do some of the questions, and then we have something extra to show. So let's do the questions which were posted live.
Okay.
Will there be an option to respec or get the points to pick another professions?
I don't think so. I mean, that's not set it totally in stone. It's like there's because it's not a super hard feature to implement. It's just that we wanna, when we were thinking about Gamedec, we took one of the most awesome cyberpunk RPGs as an example of things that we don't want to do, and we took Deus Ex. I mean, Deus Ex is an awesome game, but you choose things during that game, right? And at the end of the day, you still get to choose your outro, basically, when you finish the game, right? So there wasn't the big acknowledgement of the fact that for example, all the time I've chosen against augmentations, for example. So in our game, in our idea about role-playing, that option should be locked out for you. So if you consistently are against something or pro something, then the game should incorporate that. So respecing is, I think, against the experience we want to do. I mean, you can replay the game.
Yeah, it's the same in Mass Effect 3, when you have the whole trilogy, and at the end you can choose the ending.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, let's not get into. I mean, because we're comparing to ourselves right now to one of the most awesome games of all time. So maybe that's not in the RPG space at least. So maybe that's not the best way to go. But yeah, the idea that we have about being the sum of all your choices is that when you choose, I mean, you could technically load, but I would prefer you not to. I would prefer for you to experience it in a way, hey, I want to do it this way, right? So if you do something and you choose something and the result is unexpected for you, like, hey, I would never say that, or I didn't like that outcome. Maybe not that outcome, but I didn't like the way the game interpreted my intentions, then we didn't do a good enough job, because we don't want players to optimize their choices. We want them to role play their choices. Yeah. So
you get what you choose.
Yeah, it's so respecing. Usually, you do respecing for tactical optimizations, right? In RPG, there's no combat here, so there's no need for that.
So I think it answers the question about if you can get all of the aspects or every profession in the game.
Well, actually, all of them probably not. It's actually not balanced yet in a way that I can actually answer it like for 100%. But the more you explore the game, there's a lot of things that you can excel at. But I don't think you can get all the professions. No, that would make no sense from our perspective, because I'm pretty sure it's impossible, because when you choose particular things in the dialogue branches, you lock yourself out sometimes from other branches, right? So you wouldn't get enough experience aspects basically to unlock all the branches. So that would be a no.
Okay, can we name our game deck at the beginning of the game?
Well, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, we don't have character creations locked down yet. There was a lot of questions about it. We did even an update on the Kickstarter about it. But yeah, you could choose a name, you could choose an avatar, you can choose he, she pronouns, and that's about the avatars have looks of genders, race, ethnicity, basically. Yeah. So So you are carte blanche in that term, right? We don't play a particular game. I mean, it's a game about role playing, so you should be able to role play.
So you can choose both the pronouns and the
That's
avatar,
actually something that we are discussing, and I wonder if the producer is gonna kill me because because the creative director and the producer had this talk very recently, and we wanna. Because the initial idea was to have avatars that have pronouns attached to the image, but it's super cheap just to say, okay, by default they have the pronouns of the look of what the look suggests, but you could switch that and it wouldn't be a problem for us, a big problem. But the game itself is not super. There will be options that will acknowledge your pronouns, basically, but it's a game more about a detective than about a female or about a male detective, right? It's not about that.
so it doesn't matter.
Well, wouldn't say it doesn't matter because we want to have places, but think of it more of as a profession, right? So, for example, somebody would choose a coder profession, somebody would choose an influencer profession, and that gives them, in some places, not for the entire game, but in some places, it gives them branching options, right?
Okay, different
so
options.
yeah, so there would be places that would do the same thing for gender.
Okay, are the cases in the game connected? So if you choose one of the branches and one of the quests, and some NPC will see the outcome, will he remember that in the next case?
Well, obviously it is funneled a bit because the combinations would be absolutely enormous. But the outcomes on particular characters. So, for example, Umbra in that particular example should remember the fact that I killed her without even engaging in any meaningful conversation, right? So that would be examples of those outcomes that should carry over if we ever meet that character again. So in that sense, yes. It's just that I don't want anybody to quote me that, hey, if you have 4 outcomes on a case and you have, for example, n amount of cases, that would mean that you would have to need trillion years to develop that game. So we are funneling it a bit.
Will main character background origin as in the character creation play a part in the story? Yeah, we have something like this in the Low City video when the bouncer didn't want you to go to the bar.
The Low City playthrough, when you enter Harvest Time, you could say that you're a game deck and that you're from Low City, and I think that the bartender also asked you about your background. Are you a pro gamer, for example? And pro gamers played for free in that particular bar. So yes, they are basically like your starting aspects, your background. They're aspects, but you got them from the start.
Moral choices, is there some mechanic for getting really bad or really good that makes people react to you differently?
We don't have a karma system per se that the community, for example, is going to shout at you or boo you or cheer you depending on what you do, but your actions are acknowledged by this cast of main characters that your choices actually influence. So in that sense, yes, you're going to have a commentary on that, but it's super important to say that we try to give, big emphasis on that, we try to give each branch an equal amount of love. So we don't want a situation that, for example, you suddenly become a bad guy or something and you locked yourself out of all the quests, for example, because nobody wants to talk to you, etc., right? So it should be like an even split, like, for example, oh, I'm a good guy, so that person likes me right now, or I'm a bad person, so for example, I have a lot of money out of that particular case, that opens up an avenue in a future case. So we try to make it more balanced in terms of that it's a different experience for you. You're not necessarily punished for your choices.
You have to pay attention to your reputation as a game deck.
Well, yeah, but as I said, we don't have a karma system. That's more of those, let's say 12 or something like that, main characters that observe you very closely.
If you have any questions about the Kickstarter, you will have to ask them on Discord, so we will have them answered later. because now we have the executive producer, so we are focusing on the game.
We're gonna answer all your Kickstarter questions on Discord.
Questions about pledges and how rewards will be played out after the Kickstarter ends. We'll have a survey, and you will have a chance to write everything you want to know. But if you have any Kickstarter questions, please go to our Discord and ask them there.
We're an hour in. Maybe it's time to play we can continue the Q&A. Maybe let's put in the concepts, right?
The concepts? Okay.
Yeah.
So, why not?
So there are a couple of concepts arts.
Spoilers.
Sorry, a couple of concepts arts that we wanted to show off.
You can just click on the concepts.
Here, right? Yeah. So they're just gonna scroll in the background. A couple of unshown footages.
Yeah, this is a piece of concept art, and this whole gallery is from the Twisted and Perverted. So you may have a glimpse of what inspired the team, what style they wanted to achieve, and this is Ken, your sidekick, a brilliant driver.
Okay, what do we
have next? Will we have any romance options?
Romancing options.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a often question. So yes and no, because we won't have relationships per se. I mean, the game space, the game is created around cases and detective work. So usually it's a short amount span of time, right? So it's not enough. We don't want to make it super shallow, like it's a game about, you know, if you click 3 light options, you get laid or something, right? So it's not about it. So flirting or influencing in that way people is a valid mechanic inside the game, and there are options about it. There's even a branching. It's not named flirting per se, I think, but we call it influence, right? But you can have a flirting dialogue as a valid option, valid choices, but no deep, meaningful relationships, because we wouldn't make justice to it in this format, basically. It should be another game about it, basically.
Okay, will we be able to review our conversations with the NPCs?
Yeah, but only the current one has a. I can maybe. No, I can. The current one has a history window, so we can basically unravel it and show it, similar to old school isometric RPGs. But the dialogues per se are not recorded anywhere. But all meaningful information that we get from the dialogues, all the information from the deduction or from is available on the codex system, right? So you could, for example, go back to, I don't know, Timmy in the codex and see all the valid info you got from him.
How many words will we have?
Words?
Worlds.
Worlds, okay. Because I also know how many words. Yeah, so that's a big no-no.
We have shown
what we shown?
Yeah.
We have shown
Harvest Time,
Twisted
and Perverted,
Low City. We shown High City today. I glimpsed only an apartment basically, but it's in the High City.
It's not a virtual words, yeah.
Yeah, and the trailers had a glimpses of some medieval themed stuff, but yeah, we're not saying yet.
We have achieved the Cthulhu and 7 on Kickstarter.
Yeah, we achieved those, so we now we have to do them. We're not scared at all.
You seem very happy about it, yeah?
No, it's an awesome idea. It's just that, you know, now when it's real, you need to actually do it. It's kind of scary, yeah.
And we have a great team with over 20 people, yeah?
Yeah, right now there's over 20 people working on Gamedec.
Still hiring.
Yeah, we are.
If you want. You can be here, sitting here next to me.
Yeah, here when COVID ends, but yeah. Okay, what do you have
next?
next?
Was it the author of the books or the studio that decided how the characters look like?
I would say it was a team effort, but we have quite a team of artists working on that, and obviously all the characters are by day design, by day concept, etc. But the author acts as like a consultant in terms of, because he's full time on the team as a writer, but in terms of feedbacking art, he's like a consultant. And is this something that would have been placed in my world, right? Like, for example, he likes things that are round, or for example, that most people should wear eyeglasses because they have augmented reality, etc. Or there are no shoelaces in game deck world,
no
right?
Paper.
So all those kind of stuff that give it a unique flavor, but the overall art obviously is created solely by our artists. Yeah.
How did you meet Marcin, and how did you came up with the idea to create a game about game deck?
So Marcin has a friend at 11-Bit Studios. Shout out to awesome people there. And 11-Bit Studios was interested in the idea of game deck per se, but more of like a publisher, not necessarily developing it itself. So they gave a shout out inside the industry, by industry channels, that hey, there's an author that wants to make a game, and usually you ignore that. But when 11-Bit Studios says that it makes sense, then you, then I followed up on that lead. That's how we met with Marcin. We talked a lot about it, and then we decided to do it.
Was it always meant to be an isometric RPG?
No. We thought initially that an isometric RPG would be too hard and too expensive to create, and we were right. It's just that we at first it was kind of we were highly inspired by the works of Lucas Pope. Back then, mostly Papers, Please, right? Because I think Return to Aberdeen was not released then when we actually brainstormed it, brainstormed game deck. So Reigns, Papers, Please, etc. We're looking at other ways that you could systemically not show all those virtual worlds, because it's a lot of content to create. So it's like we thought it would be like a AAA game to create this kind of a game. And we were soul searching for like a year and a half, I think, and it didn't click for us. And then the creative director, Marcin, just created an isometric prototype, a quick prototype. It took, I think, a couple of weeks. And it just clicked. And we said, like, well, it's gonna hurt, but we're gonna do it the good way, the old school isometric way.
But we have to mention that Ansha always wanted to do an isometric RPG, yeah?
Well, I always wanted to make an isometric RPG, and I convinced people that it's a good idea, and they believed me. We'll see. But there's a lot of luck here involved, because we're learning from the cooperation with Fool's Theory or with Larian Studios, etc. We're super lucky that right now the knowledge share in the industry is hopefully we don't need to learn this for 10 years. So yeah.
How important is the book to the game? Like, will we be missing out on much if we haven't read the book?
The story is 100% original. We take the worlds from it. We take the general concept for the game. Some worlds are actually created just for the purpose of, they're not in the books, just for the purpose of the game deck. So I would say you're missing out because it's a nice book, but you're not missing out in terms of that now I don't understand what the game is about, or etc.
You can still get the books in English on Kickstarter, yeah? We have some pledges, some tiers.
Because the book was not released in English.
Yeah, and you can get them on Kickstarter, either digital or physical. The first two books.
Yeah, first two, because then Marcin took it off in more of a, I would say, space opera kind of a direction. So you have the main character arming a Pacific Rim kind of a space bot, etc. So it took off in a different direction, more of a space opera. But the first two free books are pure cyberpunk that we're basing on our game on. Yeah.
What do you consider a partial voiceover?
So a partial voiceover is, in the industry we call it first meets, second meets. So the first time you meet a character, he gives a shout out to you like, "Hello, adventurer, stay a while and listen," right? So that would be a first meet, and a second meet would be something like, "Oh, hello again. Do you want some items identified?" And the dialogue would be just written, the rest of it, right? So it's just enough to give a flavor to the character that it's more fleshed out, but it's not a full VO. Right?
Okay. So the next question is, how is Gamedec different from any other detective game?
Apart from that it's an isometric RPG with player progression, etc. And from RPGs, its main difference is that it is a detective game without combat. But in the detective mechanic itself, I would say the adaptive part. So the part that I explained during the stream, that it's obviously there is one absolute truth, the one that was thought out in the mind of the designer, but we try to give equal amount of love to every branch, and you can actually decide something that is not necessarily true, or maybe it fits better with your character and with your choices, and the game rolls with it, and you don't get a feedback that no, wrong, you need to start again. No, the game just goes with it, and this is your story, right? So I think that the deduction system, in terms of that everything goes, that's a pretty unique thing for a detective game. I'm not saying that because there's so many games right now, so maybe some game is doing it right now, I don't know, but I haven't personally played a detective game that does that.
What is the tone of the game? Is it more dark or jokey, like the Marvel movies?
I would say it depends. I would definitely not say that maybe as jokey as... I mean, it is a cyberpunk game, right? So there is a conspiracy, there are moral choices, there are people wasting their entire lives inside virtual realities, etc. Which actually in Gamedec is not wasting, because it's like normal. I mean, it's a very there's no transhumanist issue in Gamedec, because AIs are walking in robots' bodies on the streets of real life. People are living, ghosts in the machines, living inside video games, etc. So it's not a dystopia per se. It's not like a sad world.
People are used to the technology.
But there is obviously this big grip of corporations on the world, right? So there is this. So in Low City, you can see that it's not a happy place, right? Like in a cyberpunk should look like. So I would say that the tone is dark, but like Netflix dark, altered carbon kind of a dark, right? It's not like you're gonna weep for a month or anything like that. We want players to enjoy the cyberpunk nostalgia in our game.
A question which we have a lot on Discord and Kickstarter: when will the beta be available for our backers?
Yeah, not answering that one, and that's because if I give a date, I'm basically probably not gonna make it for that date, and that would make me a liar. So yeah, we're after Kickstarter in unforeseen future. So we're not saying right now when, but definitely before launch, definitely after Kickstarter. It's gonna be the case that we just saw, but fleshed out.
Yeah, so you can pick another route.
Yeah.
Or just go the lazy way and unplug the thread right away.
Yeah.
Job done. Is it hard to work with the author of the books?
I would say it's always hard to work with what we call a civilian. So with a person that's not from game development industry, because there's a lot of terminology that we're super used to. There's a lot of ways that we're super used to do. And the same crafts and same terminology that we don't know, a writer uses, right? When he writes his books, etc. So those two worlds are not necessarily like plug and play in terms of lingo, in terms of ways of working, etc. So the biggest, for example, the biggest difference is that there is a super lot of thought going into character motivations on a single pathway in a book, and you cannot have that in a video game because the player's choices need to be valid. So the equal amount of love to a branch that I mentioned is a super hard usually thing to get familiarized with for a person that for years was writing a linear story. On the other hand, we struggle also with what actually is our target in terms of, is it going to be understandable on the English side, for example? Is it going to be understandable for a person that has, let's say, an English level of a 14-year-old, let's say, right? So it's not only 30-year-old fluent English speakers that are gonna read the game, right? So there are a couple of differences, but I wouldn't say that it matters anymore because we've been working on this game for 4 years. So he's not a civilian anymore, right? So he's part of the team. But yeah, there were definitely things to iron out, and probably still are some.
Can the player talk his way through the quest without killing anyone? Because the person who asked the question,
I mean, sorry,
the non-lethal.
Yeah, sorry for Umbra. It's that's actually an exception. It's the game is about a detective, so the violent way shouldn't be your default answer. I would say that maybe even sometimes we're actually afraid a little bit of that because sometimes people are so used to that problems are solved in the video games with violence that they're going to be angry with us that there is, for example, in some place every branches are non-violent one, just in a different approach. So I would say no problem. You're going to be happy about it.
Can we do immoral things like take money from one guy and solve the case in favor of another?
Well, it's not systemic per se, like that there is like inventory system with money counters, etc. But we're planning to have, and there are in plans of branches like exactly like that, right? That like I mentioned in that playthrough, you could have a footage, you could release it, maybe you could sell it, maybe you could give it to Haggis, you could have money, etc. Maybe you could threaten somebody with it. So those are all choices that should be. I mean, we won't give you all the possible choices in the world, but we're trying to think a bit exactly like the question suggests.
We have one question which is the opposite of the non-lethal approach.
Yeah.
So can we kill everyone we meet?
No, definitely not. There are only specific places where it makes sense for the narrative to have that option. And the game is, before we call it adaptive cyberpunk isometric RPG, we called it non-combat isometric RPG. So there is no combat system inside. So definitely would not like Fallout New Vegas, for example, that you can kill every person. I think that Outer Worlds also has that from recent RPGs.
Yes.
So no.
What are the platforms Gamedec will be available on? Well,
right now the only things we're saying is the platforms that we're not going to be on. For certain, we're going to be on PC. That's our main platform. We super want to be on consoles, and that's going to happen. We're just not saying when. Currently, we're not planning mobile, so iPads, etc. We're not planning that, and we're not planning Linux or Mac versions.
Okay. How will the additional content will be added to the game after the release? If we have a DLC, how will it feed to the main story?
So the game on the release is going to be a full story, right? So that's going to be a complete meta scenario from A to Z. You don't need any DLCs, or any future DLC won't make you feel like you didn't get a complete deal, let's say, on the first one. So, but the case structure of the game makes it easy to add new content. It's just that it's either gonna have no bigger story arc, let's say, like, so only a story arc inside a particular DLC. But we didn't really put much thought into it because all our energy and all our focus are to deliver the core game. I know that it's super common right now to add a lot of stuff after the launch, and we understand that. It's just that for an RPG, consistency, the coherency of the story itself, it's super important, right? So we're focusing on it right now.
Will the game be heavy on PC requirements?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. On a, let's say, medium gaming PC, if you can launch Divinity Original Sin 2, you can probably, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to launch Gamedec, especially that we're planning consoles, right? So yeah.
Okay, is there any gadget or cyberware the player can get? Any additional items which you can?
So there's no inventory system per se. There are things that are like available to you because of your choices, but we say that they're available to you because of something. There's no real interaction. Like, for example, now I'm thinking on my feet right now, but for example, you would say that I want to dig a hole here, dig up a body on a grave or whatever. So you wouldn't find a shovel in an inventory system. You would just, well, use a shovel because it's not a super hard item probably to find, right? So we're not, in that terms, we're not a point and click adventure that you need to figure out what type of item used to on which. But for example, you could have a branching narrative option. Think of items like Detroit Become Human. So for example, you find a gun in a drawer, and there's an unlocked branch to use that gun. If you don't find that gun, you don't have don't have that option. So in that terms, there are gonna be items, but no inventory system.
Okay. Do we have a gamepad support for PC? I think every game nowadays should have the ability to.
You're asking super hard questions because obviously we're gonna have it, but I don't know if we announce it, not announce it. It's a big thing, but yeah, we're gonna have
we already did.
We're gonna have pad support. We're gonna have pad support.
I think it's an obvious choice right now. Okay. Romances, we already had romances. How will the character creation look in case of asking questions?
I mean, we did a Kickstarter update on this one, and it tries to explain it a bit. It's kind of a psychological test. So a reference comes to mind is the creation of your mercenary in Jagged Alliance, for example. Jagged Alliance 2 had it. I think Jagged Alliance 1 also. It was so long ago. But yeah, basically a set of questions that will have that will generate a set of aspects for you, basically starting backgrounds.
Will there be any other companions besides Ken and his awesome car skills?
No. There's Ken is part of a narrative, so there's no like MMO style companion system, etc. There are recurring characters that we can deepen our relationship or break the relationship depending on our choices. But as a kind of a sidekick character, it's just Ken. Yeah.
So we have a question you already answered right now. Will the characters from different virtual worlds appear in other worlds?
Yeah, I mean, because many of those people play a lot of games, right? It's not just, so for example, Umbra also plays Twisted and Perverted, but she also appears as a clan member of a different case that we didn't show yet. So yeah, they will. Not all of them, that depends on the story, but some of them definitely will.
Will we have the option to change our skin when we enter the virtual world?
So right now what we hope for, we don't plan any customization in terms of that you can like, it is in the books actually. In the books when you go into a virtual world, you have this kind of like a matrix white room where you can put
guns, lots of guns.
So so you can pick up your outfit. We're right now the plan minimum, and I think we're gonna go with it. We're gonna focus on the characterization at first, but inside a video game, you're gonna have a set. Outfit inside there. But it is a super cool idea. But yeah, the scope here limits us.
What is your approach about crunching?
We have this question again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big. Where COVID doesn't help, because people crunch even when not asked to, because the remote work. If somebody is not used to remote work, it kind of works that way. But we have a strong non-crunch policy. But obviously, there's a big debate about what crunch actually is. So I won't say that we never did overtime ever or whatever. Of course we did, especially when we were having a build, for example, right? But there's a big difference from having a couple of nights of overnight for a big milestone versus a systemic approach to work many weeks or even many months, called dev marching, right? Intense overtime to deliver a game on time and on budget. I'm a strong opponent of it, basically. So we never had, again, it depends on the definition, but we never had crunch. We definitely never had dev marching at Onshore Studios. So it was usually an overtime before the lunch, but never systemic, never mandatory, and never unpaid. Right.
Okay, so no microtransactions in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that comes with the no crunch policy. There's no microtransaction in the game. I mean, if we decide to create a DLC, for example, and we feel like it will be a story on its own, that's like a big chunk that we can say, hey, it's extra 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever. This is an extra value that you get. Then I'm open to charge for that, basically, right? So that's going to be a business decision that we're going to make in the future, but no microtransaction inside a game, no.
In terms of replayability, what can be done differently in some cases to lure the players to play again?
Well, the biggest difference is when you play the game, you either can role play another character, right? So you can go in different branches in the professions. Or you can choose to have different moral or different options how to interact with characters. So not on the profession side, but on the, hey, I was a dick to that person last time. This time I'm going to be nice, for example. And the third one is the way you explore the game, because it's super easy to. A lot of content goes unnoticed, and that's good actually, and because we want to have that illusion of freedom that you can do whatever. So when you play again, you can end up like I did actually unintentionally here on the stream, because the information about the theater was actually hidden in the dialogue with Umbra, and I could ask then the admin about the theater, and he could open it up, right? But because I killed Umbra. Because I wanted to be cool or something, I don't know. It was a stupid idea. I didn't have that option in the dialogue with the admin, so the admin pointed me into another direction, which also would eventually lead me to the theater, because actually those branches, you can go into the theater also from other sides, which gives you different advantages and different options. But yeah, it's super easy to lock yourself out unknowingly. So if you play the game for the first time, you don't even know that you're missing a lot, which some people I know, they're very anxious about it. But that's why we don't want to have like counters, etc. It's like you unlocked, 78% of the game, because then people would try to replay just to have 100 on a single playthrough. And that's not what the game is about. The game is about, hey, this is my experience. Now I can have a different experience.
Then it's not a narrative, it's a job.
Yeah, well, or a challenge, right? But it's not this kind of a game.
Is the Twisted and Perverted the limit of how mature the content of the game will be? What will be the rating upon release?
You mean like PEGI or SRB,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
we don't know. We know for sure that it's not going to be adults only, and we're not going to put in the content in the game that's going to have adults only. I'm sure that the content in the game is mature enough to receive at least a teen or a 12 from PEGI. That's a minimum. But some aspects here, especially on the dialogue, we don't want to censor ourselves. I think that at the end of the day, we're gonna get mature. So that's 17 in SRBG and 18, I think, in PEGI, right? So because of the strong language, because of the themes that we touch upon, because we don't want to censor a lot of stuff. But as I said, it's a game about a detective, not necessarily about being edgy. So definitely it's not going to be adult only.
Is there any factions in the game, like in Fallout New Vegas, which we can be a part of or go against?
So, narratively speaking, you may say yes. I may say yes, but it's the similar situation like with the gun, right? So, for example, I'm a player of this particular game, or I'm a part of this particular clan that would open up a branching somewhere, right? But it's not but it's all based on the branching narratives that the choices that you make with the people that you interact with. It's not necessarily a statistic info. It's that, hey, you did 7 out of 10 quests for that guild, and if you hit 10, then you're gonna advance, etc. It's not this kind of a game.
Okay. What will happen if we screw up the case? If we go the lazy way, detective way?
Yeah.
So what will happen next?
Well, you go to the next case. It's just that
you can screw up again.
In the next case, yeah, you can screw up again in the next case. You can go the whole game screwing up all the cases, and you're gonna get some kind of an outcome, and it's gonna be a valid one. You don't necessarily gonna learn a lot about the characters and about the underlying meta scenario, because it's a cyberpunk game, so it's a game about a conspiracy. There are corporations that are a conspiracy. That's, for me, it's a must-have in a cyberpunk game. So we have that in Gamedec, so you don't necessarily gonna reveal everything, but nothing's gonna happen in terms of that you're gonna be locked out, or that you won't be able to advance, or that the game's gonna, I don't know, give you an achievement that you're stupid or something.
So we can't lose the game?
No, you can't lose the game. It's, in that case, it's pretty similar to where you actually can lose in some of the David Cage's game, because he has the action sequences, right? But in the most cases, you just don't. There is a way you handle the lose scenario, right?
What is your favorite virtual world in Gamedec?
I cannot say, because we haven't revealed that world yet. There is one screenshot of it revealed. You could look it up. I even think it's on Steam. A Gamedec is in the middle of the field with a lot of bodies around it. So that's a screenshot from that world, but we didn't reveal it yet.
Tarantino style.
So yeah, so we so I can't say. I can say what's my favorite world from the book, because it's not in our game.
Okay.
And in the book there is a world that I obviously don't remember the name of that world. I only remember that it strongly resembled Unreal Tournament for me personally, because I played a lot of Unreal Tournament, where there were shooter kind of a style, and there was a cheater inside there, and it was a case about the cheater. The cheater basically speed up his brain. He fixed his couch in a way that make him much faster inside the game also. That's the way he cheated. But he also got super older because of it. His brain got older faster than his body.
Wasn't the space sim case? So the guy was filthy rich and nobody knew why.
Maybe. I just remember the world.
The Pro, there was a case.
Yeah, the Pro. Yeah, that was the case.
That was the Unreal Tournament.
Yeah, the Pro. That was the name. Now I remember the name of the story. So that was my favorite world.
And when you got fragged, you had a number above your head, and you just achieved a lot of damage, constantly damage.
Yeah.
Damage over time. So if you're strong enough, you can follow up with the game.
Yeah, you physically got hurt. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a cool story.
Read the books in English on Kickstarter. Pledge now. Okay, let's go to the next question. How will the world of 7 look like? Will it be basically turn out from the game, from 7 and put to the game?
We
there?
are not saying at the moment. I mean, we're super happy that we got that stretch goal. We are in. We already work on Divinity Original Sin 2 with full theory, so we're really close. And I hope it's going to be a really awesome case that they're going to also contribute. But I want to say that it's a secret, but the truth is that we don't know, right? This is going to be up for discussion. It's going to be. I wanted to pay homage also to the game itself, to the fans of 7. So it needs to be a coherent story inside that world. It's not going to be probably super tightly plugged into our meta scenario, because that didn't make sense, because our main story is a coherent story on its own. But I think that you're going to have some fun with it. But we need to start working on it.
We have many questions on our chat that were already answered before. So you will have to rewatch the live stream, because many of these questions were answered already. Just like you can replay Gamedec with another branches and another professions of your choosing. What can you tell us about the Cthulhu world? Nothing.
Nothing. That was we really wanted we really wanted it to happen. I mean, the post-Apo world. I really wanted for the post-Apo world to happen because I'm a big Fallout fan. But I understand why Cthulhu was the fan favorite, because of the detective theme. I mean, it fits.
Yeah,
it fits nicely. Having a post-apo without combat would be interesting, but yeah, it fits nicely. But we're not saying anything about it right now. There's also a couple of licensing things that we need to figure out, because only the core books are actually available, etc. So we need to, similar to 7, when the Kickstarter dust falls, we need to simply get to work.
Are the songs playing at the starting soon and this particular scene are a part of the game soundtrack?
Are they? You played the...
Okay, so basically one track from these which are playing has been chosen by our audio master Agnieszka, and she said it's very close to what she wants to achieve, and it's on our YouTube channel, so you can just go there and listen. This is the piece which she thinks it's the closest to what she wants to achieve. The other pieces are work in progress, so she still wants to retouch, to do some mixing, and do something more. So what you have here is a work in progress. So we have a game work in progress, we have a music work in progress, we have concept art.
There's still a lot of work to be done on the music side, but I think you're gonna be happy.
Yeah, but we are gathering feedback. So if you have any opinions on the music, on the concept arts, on the game design, or on the gameplay, feel free to share with us on Discord, for example. We will have a very numerous channels for getting feedback on some specific parts of the game. So if you feel strong in the parts of music or gameplay on the QA, you can just help us out, because we want to make Gamedec a community-driven game.
I'm on Discord. You can talk to me directly. My nick is Hacy Hacura, and that's my nickname. So I'm super easy to spot because of the Fallout Power Armor avatar. I'm a big Fallout fan. So if you have any questions, I'm to the best of my abilities, so usually at night, I will be able to answer them.
Last question.
Sure.
We already talked about the 7 and the Cthulhu, but will we ever see the post-apocalyptic one, even if it wasn't being chosen by the community?
I really hope not, and I'm gonna say why. Because we're still knee deep in the development. There is so much work to be done on the game, and now we have the Cthulhu worlds, and now we have the seven worlds as an addition. So there's a lot of work ahead of us. I would love to have it, maybe in some kind of enhanced edition or DLC or in whatever form. But first, we want to give justice to the original idea that we have as a coherent story, right? So if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this right, and if we want to do it right, I don't think it's gonna happen in the core game.
Okay, so a DLC, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Maybe.
Big maybe. Okay, so I think this wraps up our Q&A session and gameplay session. We have no more questions. It was a really nice experience, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it was almost 3 hours, so go to sleep or go play some games. It's Friday night. Thank you very much for joining in. And if you have any other follow-up questions, I'm available for you on the Discord channel.
Yeah, so really important things to say. We are still getting a Kickstarter campaign going, so if you haven't backed, you can back us up. If you don't have any money, you can still help us out by spreading the word. So send the link to your friends, family.
I think that they might just don't want to buy us, not only not having money, so that's also okay. But if you think our game is interesting, a wish list, subscribe on the channels, and we're gonna try to convince you along the way to the best of our abilities.
Yeah. Let the game speak for itself. Yeah.
So thank you very much and goodbye.
Łukasz Hacura, executive producer on the Gamedec, and I'm Mateusz, community manager for Ansha Studios. So see you next time. We have to do it again.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.